Thomas Jefferson may have written the words, all men are created equal, but he really didn't do very much in his life to make that happen.
You're saying to tear down Jefferson and replace it with Harriet Tubman?
I didn't say that. Don't put words in my mouth.
Who would you say the best president we've had in the last 100 years?
Are you serious?
I love this country and it changed my life, and I'm asking you.
These are ridiculous questions. This is
I'm
like
asking
sitting
you,
here
I'm asking you who's the great president. You can't answer that, can you?
Yeah, I did.
Say it. What is it?
Ask the guy you're in the studio with.
I'm asking you. I'm interviewing you, not them.
I didn't ask you why you think anything. I know who wrote the Declaration of Independence.
I don't disagree with you on a lot of things. I'm an immigrant.
So am I.
Were you born here?
No, I wasn't. I don't answer questions like this.
You shouldn't have agreed to this interview.
Asking me who's my favorite.
Because your favorite president said Thomas Jefferson represents what's best in America. That's why.
What a fucking asshole.
So with all the debates taking place about statues coming on, we decided to reach out to Lucian Truscott, which is a very interesting story. He is Thomas Jefferson's sixth great-grandson. Now, he has a resume that must be talked about. He has been writing for over 50 years as a journalist, novelist, and screenwriter. He has covered stories such as Watergate, the Stonewall riots, wars in Lebanon, Iraq, Afghanistan. He's written 5 best-selling novels, done a lot of work. And recently, he suggested that the Jefferson Memorial must be taken down and replaced by Harriet Tubman's memorial. So we decided to reach out. Lucian Truscott, thank you so much for being a guest on Valuetainment.
Thanks for having me.
So opening question, very simple. That paper, that article you wrote on New York Times, you explained your position, you explained where you're at, you explained where, why you think this ought to be taking place. But maybe for the audience that hasn't written the article, why do you think Jefferson's memorial must be taken down and replaced by Harriet Tubman?
Well, I didn't say it must be taken down. I made a suggestion that it might be time that we considered taking down Jefferson's memorial because of everything that's going on in the country today. I think a lot of things are being re-examined right now. The Pentagon just recently banned the use of the Confederate flag. States around the country, including in the South, are taking down monuments to Confederate generals and that sort of thing. And I think it's time that we had a look at some of the worship that's been given to some of our founding fathers, one of whom is Thomas Jefferson. In my article, what I said was, I think that Jefferson's home at Monticello is a much better memorial to him than the statue that stands in Washington, D.C. Because his home at Monticello, nowadays anyway, tells the whole story of Jefferson, the whole man, including his flaws and some of the aspects of him that were just straight ahead immoral, including the fact that he owned over 600 slaves during his lifetime. But if you visit Monticello today, you'll learn about that history of slavery. You'll learn about slave life at Monticello. You'll learn that Jefferson fathered 6 children with his slave Sally Hemings, and you'll learn that slaves built Monticello. They built the house, they built the outbuildings, they worked the land. They made Monticello possible. When you go to the Jefferson Memorial in Washington, D.C., on the other hand, what you see is this grand 19-foot tall statue of Jefferson and inscriptions on the walls that celebrate some of his great writings and great sayings. But the problem with that is Jefferson may have written the words, all men are created equal, but he really didn't do very much in his life to make that happen. And so I suggested that it might be time to take down the monument to Jefferson and replace it. And I thought well, who can you replace Thomas Jefferson with? And then I thought, well, maybe we ought to, instead of worshiping these so-called founding fathers that I've been hearing about for 50 years of my life, maybe it's time to honor some of America's founding mothers. And one of them is Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was a slave who escaped slavery, helped to set up the Underground Railroad to help escaped slaves get out of slavery. And then during the Civil War, fought on the side of the Union as an armed scout against the Confederate Army. And then after the Civil War, she worked for the rights of freed slaves. In this way, I think that Harriet Tubman really contributed to the founding of the country after slavery, after 1865. The United States wasn't just founded when Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence in the 18th century. It's been going through a founding over 200 years. And I think it's time that we started celebrating some of the people that have helped found and helped form a more perfect union like Harriet Tubman has. This week, we just had the death of another founder, John Lewis, who worked so hard for civil rights in the 1960s and of course marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge with all the people that marched that day, and spent his entire life working for civil rights in the South. Yeah, these Harriet Tubman and John Lewis are great people, great Americans, and I think it's time to honor people like them.
So it's a tragedy what happened with John Lewis. Obviously, he's, I think I can say, admired, adored, respected by many. He's got a lot of love going on. And with Harriet Tubman, I don't think anybody would dispute the fact that to put up a statue. But to read what you said in the article, you said, that's why we don't need the Jefferson Memorial to celebrate him. He should not be honored with a bronze statue, 19 feet tall, surrounded by colonnade of white marble. The time to honor the slave-owning founders of our imperfect union is past. The ground which should have moved long past has at last shifted beneath us, and it's time to honor one of our founding mothers, a woman who fought as an escaped slave to free those still enslaved, who fought as an armed scout of the Union Army against the Confederacy, a woman who helped to bring into being a more perfect union after a slavery process that continues to this day. In Jefferson's place, there should be another statue. It should be Harriet Tubman. Okay, so that's in the article. Fine, that makes sense. Well, my question for you would be, why replace it? Why not just put it in a different place and leave Jefferson Memorial where it's at?
Well, I think that I said in the article. I mean, if you've got the article there in front of you, then you've read it. And I just gave you a reason that we should do that.
Viewers haven't seen it. Assume the viewers haven't seen it. So your suggestion isn't that, you're saying the Jefferson statue at his 5,000 acres of plantation is plenty. If you really want to find out his history, go there. There is no need to have a 19-foot statue. Let's tear that one down and replace with Harriet Tubman. What I'm asking is, why don't we keep that one since it's part of history, and let's just put another statue of Harriet Tubman?
Well, you could do that, but I think it's time to honor other people in the same way that we honored Thomas Jefferson. And the way to honor someone in the same way you honored Thomas Jefferson is put a statue where his statue was.
Also, tear him down and put her up.
Well, you keep using the words "tear him down." I never use those words in my article. Look down at my article. You've got it in front. You've got it in front of you there. Look down at my article and see if you see the words "tear him down."
What way would you bring it down? So, what's a proper word to use?
Well, you can move Jefferson's statue. Move Jefferson's statue to Monticello. I don't care what they do with it.
I got it. Okay, that makes sense.
As a matter of fact.
So what you're saying
is, don't put words in my mouth. Don't tell these listeners that I said tear down Thomas Jefferson.
I never said you said tear it down. I just said, why would we want to tear it down? Why not keep it where it's at and let's put Harriet Tubman somewhere else?
You're saying it again, aren't you? You're
I am.
saying, why wouldn't you want to tear it down? I didn't say that. Don't put words in my mouth.
Let me give the most technically accurate statement here. Why physically move it from the place the current statue is at to another place and put Harriet Tubman in the same exact real estate that Thomas Jefferson is currently in?
Because I said that it's time that we honored some people other than these so-called founding fathers of ours. And I think it's time that we honored a founding mother.
Lucian, let me ask you, what country would you say is the greatest country in the world?
Are you serious? Are you going to sit here and ask me
I am.
questions like this?
I am.
What do you think is the greatest country in the world?
I lived in Iran 10 years. I lived there when Khomeini was there and couldn't wait to leave Iran and went to Germany, lived at a refugee camp. And after living at Germany in a refugee camp for 2 years, came to the States. Here was a dream to come to America. I came here, served at the 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault proudly because I love this country and it changed my life. And I'm asking you, what do you think is the greatest country in the world?
I think the United States of America is the greatest country in the world.
Why do you think it is?
Why do I think it is?
Why do you? I explain mine. Why do you think it is?
Why do I think the United States is the greatest country in the world?
Yes.
What kind of questions are these you're asking me?
Lucian, you asked me why I think.
I didn't ask you why you think anything. I asked you what you thought the greatest country in the world was.
What do you think?
Said
it's a
the United States. I didn't ask you why.
What do you think?
I don't care why you think the United States is the greatest country.
Well, I do. I'm asking you why.
Because I say it is. That's why.
Based on what premise?
Based on the premise that I say it's the greatest country in the world.
Do you think Declaration of Independence has something to do with it?
What?
Do you think the Declaration of Independence has something to do with it?
Yeah, I think the Declaration of Independence has something to do with it.
Who wrote it?
Huh?
Who wrote it?
Hey, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and go through this pity-pat, nitpicky little, this pity-pat little nitpicky line of questioning you're giving me. I know who wrote the Declaration of Independence. My sixth great-grandfather wrote it.
Why undermine him?
I'm not undermining Thomas Jefferson.
Removing his statue.
You think it undermined? You know, I got criticized a lot when I took my Sally Hemings cousins to Monticello because people said that I was undermining Thomas Jefferson by showing that Thomas Jefferson fathered children with a slave. I don't think it undermines Thomas Jefferson.
I don't think it is. I don't think what you do undermines.
Then I don't think what I'm suggesting undermines Thomas Jefferson either.
There's a big difference between bringing people together, which I think you did in 1999 or 1998, which was the first family reunion from both sides, which was a beautiful thing you did. That's a form of a union. That's bringing people together. But why decide to remove his statue?
Well, because I think maybe we're bringing people to get different people together now by removing his statue. You know, how do you think Black people think about, especially the ones who were descended from slaves? How do you think that they think when they go to see Thomas Jefferson, 19 feet tall, in this big monument in Washington, D.C.? I have one of my Hemings cousins, Shannon Lanier, that wrote an article for CNN, and he suggested taking down Thomas Jefferson's statue. In fact, I don't really understand why you're so offended by this.
Why I'm offended by this? You and I are living in a country where we're free to say whatever we can. You can totally disagree with me, and I can disagree with you because we live in America.
Yeah.
And this happened because a lot of people sacrificed for us to get here, don't you think?
Sure.
There's value in that, isn't there?
Sure.
Okay. So, I mean, what you're saying right now, I mean, it's like same thing as me saying, should Jews call for the pyramids to be torn down since they were most likely built by Israelis?
What?
should Prophet Muhammad, who was a slave trader, should mosques be torn
Hey,
down?
Tracy, are you listening to this?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that my girlfriend is listening to this garbage that's coming out of your mouth.
What I love the fact is that you disagree with this. Here's a guy that was born in Iran who loves the country your great-grandfather built. This is a guy that escaped Iran to come to America. And I'm defending your country. I'm an immigrant. Proudly, I represent America.
So am I.
So why do you love America?
I'm an immigrant as well.
You were born here?
In fact, I'm a naturalized citizen. Are you a naturalized citizen?
I am. Yes.
Okay, so am I.
Were you born here?
No, I wasn't.
Where
I
were
was
you
born in Japan.
In a military.
And
base.
because I was born in Japan after the war, before there was an immigration and naturalization treaty with the country of Japan that didn't exist in 1947, I was naturalized probably the same way you are. I have an immigration naturalization certificate the same way you do.
Were you born in a military base?
Yes, but
It's
I just
slightly
explained
different.
to you
cannot
why.
explain me being born in Iran and you being born in a
I
military
just
base.
explained to you why
Yeah.
I was naturalized.
Yeah, you know, look, I understand that there's better places to go to that's going to be safe for interviews to be done, but I was wondering to know if you were going to ask some questions, answer some questions. Just out of curiosity, you're somebody that's written a lot. Who would you say the best president we've had in the last 100 years?
The best president we had in the last 100 years? I'd say Barack Obama.
Barack Obama? Who else
Yeah.
would you say?
Huh?
Who else outside of Barack?
You know, I don't have to tell you these things.
You know, this is called an interview.
You know something? These are ridiculous questions. This is
I'm
like
asking
sitting
you
here
I'm
asking
asking you
me,
who's the great
what is my
president you think
favorite movie? What is my favorite novel or whatever? I don't answer questions like this. I don't tell you what my favorite novel is or my favorite movie. I don't have to tell you what my favorite
Do we get a
president
disclaimer
is.
saying we can't ask questions on movies or things like this? No, so we were just told let's do an interview with questions, right? Is that kind of what it was? Yeah. So you said Barack Obama is your favorite president. Fair enough. Let's just go with that. Barack Obama is your favorite president. Here's what Barack Obama said, February 10th, 2014. As one of our founding fathers, the person who drafted our Declaration of Independence, somebody who not only was an extraordinary political leader, but also one of our great scientific and cultural leaders, Thomas Jefferson represents what's best in America. Do you agree with Barack Obama?
No, I don't. I don't think owning slavery represents what's best in America. Owning slaves.
I think to go back and to assume a time where every one of our parents or lineage is linked to either being a slave owner or a slave. This includes me. I'm Assyrian and Armenian. So I'm sure you're familiar with the Assyrian and the Armenian genocide.
Yes.
Okay. So I can go back and say it's not fair to do this. And sure, I can ask for a lot of things, but that's history. So if America wants to put a statue up, I don't see an issue with that. I don't know why you see an issue with that.
Well, and you haven't been listening to me because I've explained it.
I have been, but you haven't answered a lot of questions. And maybe it's safer to go to a place where you give them the questions to ask you, where the interviewer cannot ask you any question. You should have told me up front, these are 98 questions you can't ask. We wouldn't have done this interview. But if you agree to the interview.
You don't want to do the interview? That's good. Let's just shut it off.
If you agree to the interview, the part of interview is answering questions. You didn't tell us.
But I don't have to answer these pity pat little.
You shouldn't have agreed to this interview.
Questions.
With all due respect.
And you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to answer your nitpicky little questions like who's asking me who's my favorite president.
Yes, because your favorite president said. Because your favorite president said Thomas Jefferson represents what's best in America. That's why. That's why I asked the question.
You know what you're doing? You know what you're doing?
What am I doing?
You don't like the fact that I wrote that article for the New York Times.
No, I actually love.
And what you want to do is
your videos.
What you want to do is pick a fight with me.
Absolutely not. I watch every single one of your videos. And let me tell you what was beautiful about the videos that you have. Every single one of the interviews you done, I watched. It was emotional to see you and I believe the gentleman's name is Shannon Lanier. It was beautiful seeing the two of you guys together.
Yeah.
It was beautiful seeing you bringing a family together. It was beautiful seeing you taking there to history together. It was a wonderful thing to do because that's how you unify. That's what we need in America. That's something where it gets me emotional to sit there and watch and say, I love this. We need more of this. So before you jump to conclusion and judge this guy interviewing you, you have to understand that this guy was inspired by what you did. And he's asking you basic questions to see where you are with why the statue is. You can't answer questions.
I can answer questions. I answered your questions.
Did
about
you really?
Why,
I asked you why.
You asked me why I think
think
we ought to take down the statue of Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, then I asked you some other basic questions. You refused to answer.
What basic questions like who's my favorite president?
Yes, people ask those questions all the time.
That's a baloney question.
It's for you to say. You can say that. Sure.
Yes, I can say that.
And you asked me what country I believe is the best, and I answered it to you.
What?
I think that's a baloney question.
You asked me what did you ask me? What is my favorite country? I asked you
what country do you believe is the greatest?
What do I think is the greatest country in the world? You know
you can't answer that, can you?
Yeah, I did.
Say it. What is it?
Ask the guy you're in the studio with.
I'm asking you. I'm interviewing you, not them.
What?
What? I'm asking you. I'm not interviewing these guys.
No, I know you're not.
You.
Well, if you can't remember what my answer was, maybe one of the guys in your studio can remember the answer.
Then the follow-up question was, why do you think America is the greatest country? How can't you answer that question? I did. What was it? I said, because I said it is. So that's your answer? That's my answer. What an incredible answer. Because you said it is. So if you got millions of 20-year-olds that are watching you in America who are on your side hoping to learn from you, they're hoping somebody with your level of wisdom can teach them. Why is America such a great country? Because I said it is. That's all it is? Okay. That's right. All right. I mean, based on that, I will do one last question for you, and I have a feeling I know where this answer is going. How do you feel about The Economist? Right back here in the painting, if you look closely in this painting, there are two books behind me in this painting. We have John F. Kennedy here. We have Einstein, Lincoln. We have the Shah here. We have Milton Friedman and MLK. They're in a bank vault debating two books. The two books sitting there, I had this painting custom made. One you recognize on the top, possibly, if you can see it. One is Communist Manifesto. The other one is Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. You recognize both names, yes? Yeah. What would you say about Karl Marx? What do you think about him? I don't think anything about him. How about Ayn Rand? I don't think anything about her either. Very cool. What do you think about Donald Trump? I don't think anything about him either. This is a very interesting interview. Well, I can tell you one thing for a fact. It's very, I learned a lot. Good. I learned a lot today. I learned a lot. I learned that you prefer easy questions than tough ones, and tough ones kind of irritate you a little bit, which I can't help. Oh, tough ones like who's your favorite president? Yes, boy, that was a big one. Your favorite president admires Jefferson. That's because your favorite president, was a tough question, who's the first African-American president, said that Thomas Jefferson represents what's best in America. Yeah, I know he did. And you know what? I disagree with him because I don't think owning slaves represents what's best in America. Nobody. Do you think that slavery was one of the was what's best about this country? One of the worst things that was done in America. Okay. And maybe 100%. You disagree. And maybe you disagree with Barack Obama too. The only thing I disagree is why take the statue and replace it with a Harriet Tubman rather than put it in a different place. I don't disagree with you on a lot of things. Okay. I'm disagreeing with why take it and replace it. Why not just put it elsewhere and recognize? Well, I told you. I answered that question. And there you go. So I answered your question as well. I answered your question as well. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. I got to tell you, I've had a blast with you. Yeah. By far one of my favorite interviews of all time. Yeah. I wish you nothing but the best. Okay. All good. Take care of yourself. Goodbye. Bye-bye. What a fucking asshole. You know what this is? This is all the notes I prepared for the interview. Every single interview he had done, every new one, old one, a year old, 6 years old, 7 years, I watched every single one of them out of respect to him and his lineage, and I was curious to know why he wanted to move. Why not just put another statue there with Harriet Tubman right next to it? Why having to take away the statue and put it at a different place? What are your thoughts? Did you sit there and say, Pat, I think I absolutely disagree with you. Tell me why. I want to hear your thoughts. Or you may say, I agree with you. Why do you agree with me? And also, do you think he really loves America? When I said, why do you love America? Why couldn't he give an answer? This was a 90-minute interview, and it wasn't going anywhere, and he wasn't answering any questions. Was there any unfair questions that were asked in this interview regarding him being part of the lineage of Jefferson to want to move it? Remove it to another place. What are your thoughts? I really, really want to hear your thoughts, comment below. And by the way, if you watch this interview and you kind of want to know a little bit more about some of the ways I think, I got 2 other videos I want you to watch. One is my response to what happened with George Floyd's death and Black Lives Matter. If you've never watched it, click over here to watch that. Or if you want to see economically how I believe, or see things with capitalism and socialism, click over here to watch the debate he and I, Professor Richard Wolff and I had, a very, very well-known Marxist, socialist professor. We got very heated, but we got off the conversation having a great time together. So if you've not watched this, click over here. If you've not watched my response, click over here. And if you've not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.